Right, so Mark Gurman's given us new details regarding the iPhone 15 series, and it's very much new in quotations because technically this is new information from him, but everything he says basically has already been said by other sources. But anyways guys, it is very good news that a very credible source like him is verifying this, so yeah, let's delve into it. Right, so Gurman begins by pointing out the obvious. He says there should be 4 new iPhone 15 models, the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max. And yes, I'm aware the Plus has been a failure, so why keep it in the range? Well, do remember that of course, we saw the Mini stay in the lineup even though the 12 Mini was a flop, and only after the 13 Mini flopping, Apple decided that hey, we should change it up and we should release a Plus instead. And so I'm pretty sure like the Mini, Apple wants to give the Plus size another chance to succeed, possibly with a lower price. Anyways, like everyone has been saying for weeks now, Gurman also tells us the Island should come to the regular models. And yeah, this is pretty nice, but if I'm being honest guys, I have not found the Island pretty useful. In fact, I think it should be better integrated into the actual UI, and many third-party features that include the Island are paywalled. And yes, I understand developers have all the rights to do that, they can charge money for whatever they like, but that does massively restrict the popularity of the Island. And so I'm hoping that once the regular models get this, Apple gives us better integration for the Island, and also maybe steal some ideas from developers. For example, Lock Launcher's idea of having a dock integrated with the Island would be nice. And so yes, hopefully the Island does get better with the 15 series. Now the next thing Gurman tells us is another pretty obvious upgrade, and that is the Type-C port. So yes, like many rumours have suggested, and of course with the EU legislation coming into place, Apple has decided that hey, it's time to give us the benefits of the Type-C port, and especially for the Pro models, having Thunderbolt now to transfer ProRes footage is going to be very clutch. So yes, I'm sure many of you guys are happy that Gurman is now verifying this. We should see the Type-C port. However, unlike Quo, he says nothing about the regular models being restricted to USB 2.0 speeds. However, considering Apple did this with the budget iPads, I think there's a very high chance Apple's going to do the same with the regular 15 models. And honestly, I don't think this is a massive issue because many are not transferring footage and other data on the regular models, especially when they lack ProRes and ProRAW support. Many are just going to be charging their devices, and they couldn't care less about the lack of Thunderbolt. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Now coming to Gurman's next point, I am very glad he's verifying this, and this could actually be the case for the 15 Pro series because he says that yes, we could see a titanium chassis, and this is super exciting news for me because I hate the weight of the 14 Pro Max. It is absurdly heavy for an iPhone, and stainless steel is the main reason for this. It's really not that great of a material choice for the iPhone because it adds a ton of bulk to the device, and it has a super fingerprinty finish. And so I've been wanting titanium for a while now because titanium would give us a matte finish, and also more importantly a much lighter build. And yes, it would be so nice if the Pro Max was no longer cumbersome to use and is similar in weight to the 14 Plus. Also, Gurman says that we should see the haptic buttons we've been hearing about. Apple's going to give us 2 new Taptic engines inside the device that should simulate the feel of pressing the buttons, similar to the iPhone SE's home button, and of course the MacBook trackpad. And personally, I'm semi-excited for this as well because we should get better water resistance and also additional reliability because there's less moving parts. Anyways, let's now move on to higher prices because this was initially mentioned by a Weibo source, but now Jeff Poo tells us that yes, the 15 Pro and Pro Max could get more expensive because we got titanium on these devices, solid state buttons, an A17 chip, additional RAM, and the periscope lens on the Pro Max. Now yes, for those outside the US like myself, these price hikes are not new because we've been seeing that over the last few years, especially with the 14 series. They got insanely expensive. But of course in the US, prices have not increased for the Pro models since the iPhone X, so I would not be surprised if this year the US does finally see price increases. However, I do want to remind you guys, there were tons of leaks regarding price increases for the iPhone 14 series in the US, but that was not the case. And that was quite surprising because the 14 Pros were more expensive to build than the 13 Pro, which was also more expensive to build for Apple. So the fact they've had steady increases in the component prices for iPhones, but they've still not increased prices, does suggest to me that Apple's willing to sacrifice margins a little to increase sales. In fact, you could say that Apple's kinda subsidizing the US prices and making that money back from consumers outside the US who are paying more for these devices. And while that does suck for myself, since I'm based in the UK, I do understand why Apple's doing this because the US is their key market, and especially this year with the recession, I doubt consumers are going to be happy with the price increase, and so yes, prices should stay the same for the most part. Also want to mention, I think it would make more sense if the Ultra is the first iPhone with the price increase, since Apple could use the Ultra branding to upsell consumers, whereas with the 15 series, we're only expecting the Pro and the Pro Max, and so it's going to be hard to justify price increases. Anyways, for those wanting 120Hz or the always-on display on the regular models, that's not going to be the case with the 15 series. Once again, we have reports the regular models are going to miss out on this. So yes, a Korean source who has sources within the supply chain tells us the Pros only have LTPO panels, and this allows for the high refresh rate and the always-on display, so the lack of this on the regular models means no 120Hz and also no always-on display. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm not surprised by this news because Apple has been gatekeeping 120Hz on their higher-end devices for the last few years, and so yes, it does make sense the regular 15s are going to stay at 60Hz. And if I'm being honest, I also don't care about 120Hz, and many general consumers also don't care about this, but I will say that pretty much every other Android phone at the same price has 120Hz, and so ideally, even if I don't want this, Apple should be offering this to match the competition. And do remember, there is an SE4 in the works that could be a reskinned iPhone 14, so to differentiate the regular models from this very good SE4, Apple should give us a high refresh rate panel. And to be honest, if Apple is worried about this cannibalizing the Pros, all they need to give us is air motion that could be 90Hz, and that would be a nice medium between 60 and 120Hz. And that's exactly what Google does with the Pixel 7 range, and so yes, Apple should implement this. Anyways, that's about it guys. Tell me your thoughts regarding this in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, and make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video above on details regarding the new MacBook Pros, and on that note, see ya peeps.